big news tonight. It's basically Kathleen Kennedy 2.0, the architect, the one who usurped the rights from people who were forced out of Amazon like Roy Price, and did things like canceled Conan because there was too much masculinity, toxic masculinity. So the one who's responsible for making Wheel of Time really gay, the one who's responsible for the Rings of Power, Jennifer Salke, she gone. She is gone. Out at Amazon, head of MGM Studios. She is gone. From Deadline, this happened about 3 or 4 hours ago, Ryan. Jennifer Salke steps down as head of Amazon MGM Studios. Segues, Ryan, this is how I know she's fired, segues to producing with the First Look deal. In other words, we don't want to make it look like we asked you to step down, so we're going to give you a First Look deal that we're never going to honor just to make it look good, just to help you save face a little bit. That's usually how these things roll.
Yeah, and how long has she been there? What, 2019, 2020? When was that she got that job?
It was 7 years. So we're looking at 2018-19, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so you look at some of these massive IPs, and the biggest one is Rings of Power.
Yes.
Right? You get these rights to make this story inside the Lord of the Rings world, and you take all the wrong steps. It's the most expensive series that's ever been made, and it's not even close, and it's a complete and utter failure. Like that is, to me, that should be the biggest lasting legacy from her entire tenure there. And look, Amazon has had some positive moments. We've been talking about one for weeks, a show like Reacher, which costs a fraction of what some of these other major franchises cost, yet it's getting way higher ratings, way higher numbers, probably because Jennifer Salke wasn't very involved in those things.
That's exactly why. Terminal List was magnificent. Can't wait for the prequel to come out. Clarkson's Farm, there's some stuff that's pretty good, but what happened is she came in after Roy Price was forced out for making a dick joke at a Jeff Bezos party, and he was kind of ganged up on, and his career was destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. There's been no apologies for that. The man should have never been fired. Maybe talked to a little bit, but not been fired.
Another Hollywood sex scandal. The head of Amazon Studios, Roy Price, has resigned 5 days after a producer accused him of sexual harassment. Variety reporting that Price's fiancée has called off their engagement.
Him and other people involved were heavily involved in getting the Conan rights, the Boys rights, Invincible rights, and Rings and Lord of the Rings. And initially, they really wanted to honor Tolkien. Now, how much, we'll never know, but they wanted to honor Tolkien. And what they had initially set up was nothing like the Rings of Power. There was no Halbrand. There was no shipping. There was no Gandalf or female hobbits. None of that was there. Because I talked to people. I made a video on it. And she came in. Her background is in marketing. She doesn't really do anything creative. And she came in and she ballooned budgets. One article, I believe it was Vanity Fair, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, one of them. They did a big expose on her, and they called her a star fucker. That's what she is. She just wanted to be a star fucker. And well, she's gone now after, I mean, who knows why? But it was not long after the news that we reported a couple weeks ago, where Reacher is the best performing, highest rated returning series in Amazon's history. That includes The Boys. That includes Wheel of Time. That includes Rings of Power. It's a third season. So that tells you where things are at. And maybe Bezos eventually said, we're tired of losing money and we don't need to spend as much and have more people watching and more people talking about freaking Reacher than the Rings of Power. The only conversation around the Rings of Power is how much it sucks.
Yeah. How bad will the ratings be, and how bad will this season be? And are you really going to do this for 5 seasons? Like, those are the questions that are out there now. How long are you going to keep pretending like you can continue to make this show and it's being positively received?
Right. And we'll get to that in just a second. In a surprise move, Jennifer Salke, or Salke, whatever, I don't care, is stepping down as a head of Amazon Studios after 7 years. The news was just shared internally by Prime Video and Amazon MGM. head Mike Hopkins in a memo, which you can read below. Salke is segueing into first look film and TV producing deals with the studio. Now, Chris Gore has gone over this in the past. Quite often when somebody's like asked to leave, they're given an office at the studio. They're offered some deals, some first look deals to kind of ease their way out, right? So this is not unusual. She will not be replaced, Ryan, with the head of studio role eliminated in a streamlined new structure. We've decided to...
Your job is so important, we don't need anyone to replace you.
We've decided to flatten our leadership structure a bit, whatever the fuck that means, Hopkins said, with head of TV Vernon Sanders and head of TV Courtney Valenti now reporting to him. So he's the boss now. We felt this was the best direction for our studio, which will now operate as a distinct film and television studios. Probably has a lot to do with Bond coming in too. Hopkins said Sue Kroll will also continue in her role as head of global marketing, blah, 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 blah. She gone.
Yeah. You know, I saw some people's reaction to this. Hey, does this mean that there's more hope for Bond not to be terrible now?
No.
Well, just look at who they brought in specifically for Bond. And look, we're talking about Bond and what Amazon wanted to do with it and the idea that they wanted to do a bunch of different Bond spinoffs with no James Bond involved. Well, they decided to bring in the woman who decided it'd be great to do a lot of Spider-Man universe spinoffs with no Spider-Man involved. So I don't know if that's going to go over very well. It's
not. I think it's David Heyman. I guess he'd be all right. But the biggest problem is two Americans, and one of them was the CEO of Sony and of Sony Pictures, and was fired after her emails leaked talking shit about Obama. Okay, I'm liking her a little bit, but the problem is she is so bad at her job. You know the reason you didn't see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire on those chairs, that wonderful chair stream we saw? It's because Marvel hates Sony. Marvel they have to deal with them. It's a deal with the devil, but they hate them. They would have loved to have had him on, but it would have been such a pain in the ass that they decided not to go with it. So that's Amy Pascal, by the way, who brought us Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, that's Amy Pascal. We saw a recent interview with her when she was talking about Narnia, and she's involved with that, I think. So, yeah, I don't trust anything with her involved necessarily. David Heyman is... So, you said to Mary, David Heyman's British, right?
Is he British?
Hey, I'm almost positive he's British. And
I take it back.
Really, the only thing that I specifically know him from so much are all the Harry Potter movies. I know he's done other stuff. Yes. I know he's been involved in other stuff, but obviously those are the things that stand out. I think that those in general, very well received, well executed. How much is David Heyman necessarily responsible for that? I don't know.
He's a good producer. Yeah, I got it mixed up with somebody else. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but that's David Heyman from Harry Potter.
And I think David Heyman may have been one of the people like potentially very directly responsible for the entire deal getting done, and maybe even the casting of Daniel.
Yeah, Heyday Studios, right?
In general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he is.
So, you know, I don't know. I obviously like the Harry Potter movies. I have some problems with the adaptations. Fantastic Beasts movies. Not a huge fan of Fantastic Beasts movies, but we'll see. I don't know how integral David Heyman truly was to those movies being what they were, but he was involved with all of them.
Yep. So if it was just him, I'd feel a little better. I don't feel great. We'll see. But back to Rings of Power, what Ryan just brought up. Now the question does have to be asked. Are we truly going to get 5 seasons? Because now I think we may not. Now, I think they're in the writing stage, but it's early enough for them to shit can people. It'll be very interesting. Maybe they just go with everything as usual, or they find new showrunners, or they just ended season 3. All these questions are now officially on the table, for sure. The one that's not on the table is, does it improve and get better? No, absolutely not. There's no way they can fix this. No way.
They save the money.
To save the money.
Swallow your pride, save the money, Jeff Bezos.
Yep. Just go, you know what? You know what? I fucked up. God, imagine a studio head doing that. you'd actually get a little respect and save a lot of money. A lot of money. So Jennifer Salke is gone.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.
Whoa, smokestack alive.